Hello, welcome to this video. Today we are going to Brickworld Grand Rapids here in Michigan, and it will be a very fun, and we're going to do a full walkthrough so you get to see all the cool stuff that we got to see. May or may not be filming this clip well after we go, but that just means I know how great it is there. But yeah, I'll see you at Brickworld. Starting first here, we have this little section that was at towards the front of Brickworld with some pretty nice little builds with like the balls and a handful of little items here up at the front. Again, this is like right at the beginning of Brickworld, and it's just kind of nice little entrance into Brickworld. And here we have the first table here with some very nice like little city work there on that one table there. And then next up we have a whole bunch of little builds here from little castles, little modern military scenes, and a little like zombie outbreak, I think that is. Maybe that's more modern military stuff. But yeah, and then there's this little section here, which is another little battle. Now, all of these awesome creations and stuff have little tabs and stuff next to them telling them who the builders are and stuff. And I encourage you to zoom in on some of them, like this very cool Rubik's Cube solver there, and this little city here. But yeah, I definitely encourage you to check some of these builders out if you can make them out there. Maybe look them up, see if you can find their other work, like this amazing Magic Mountain, I believe, is a very, very cool build, and I believe can run, but I don't think it was actually running like at the fair this time. And yeah, some pretty cool builds here, and the very nice K2SO build right there is a very impressive model. And then moving over here, we have a nice lighthouse build, which is very, very interesting, as well as this building here. And then of course this other building right here is a very nice building using some very cool lighting and stuff on the inside of it. Then of course there's the Snowpiercer train, a handful of other trains. Here's the Big Alice engine from Snowpiercer, a little bit closer. And then there's some other train implements right there. Next is some like foliage, some plants and stuff, some like kind of like the 18 plus style stuff. Very, very cool. And then next up we have some Zelda stuff, which that mural is just, these murals are just beautiful. I definitely like me some nice Legend of Zelda stuff. Then over here we kind of have some interesting stuff that was all like spinning and stuff. I didn't get a good look at it for the video here, but trust me, I definitely went back and checked it out in a little bit more detail. Here's for the Five Nights at Freddy's fans here, a bunch of characters, very, very cool. And although I don't know a ton about them there, but there's some very cool Star Wars scenes here on this thing with some Beat Saber stuff that's very interesting. And here's some more cool Star Wars scenes with a very impressive build of something from Return of the Jedi. No, The Last Jedi. My bad. But yeah, there's some very cool builds. This little bar here, kind of reminiscent of some other stuff. And then this very beautifully chaotic like space build here with tons of little like bases and stuff around it and other little builds. And then there's a very, very nice little Link and Zelda thing, brickheads right there, which are very cool, and I definitely took a couple pictures of, because I might try and build something similar or akin to that, just because it's very cool. And then over here we had something a little bit different that you don't see all too often, this little like Duplo world area, and definitely has some very nice details to it. You don't see a lot of like Duplo building as much at like Lego conventions and stuff, but you definitely see some. Now this Hoth build here has some very cool like little Minecraft areas hidden under it in the water there and under the snow. Here's a bunch of recolors of the R2-D2 set, and then there's this very cool like rave with a bunch of Star Wars characters all partying and some other little Star Wars builds scattered around here, looking very snazzy too, and some space balls as well. Then another Star Wars build right here, which is very cool spaceport. Now here we have a nice building and some other little like murals and stuff, and one of the some very interesting stuff there. And then there's this massive, I'm telling you, massive Star Wars area. I believe it's based off of like Mos Espa or just like some general like Tatooine stuff. And it's just very cool. There's tons of little Easter eggs and stuff in there, like the little Mando microfighter there, and just there's just packed with detail, like the Cantina Band of people right there, and just so much cool stuff everywhere. It is a very very cool setup, as you can see here by my panning around. It even included like a little train here, like the set from Solo, I believe. Maybe it's a modified version. I'm not entirely sure, but I definitely have to look up the set first to be able to tell that. But there's even like a nice space battle just above the layout, and even like I believe it's an early Imperial base right there with the all gray ATTs and the ATAT and the couple ATSTs there. And then I thought that was a very nice use of the Friends Botanical Garden set there, modified and stuff into a moisture farm, which is very interesting. And then here's another build of Hoth with some very nice rock work coming up here, and even a little Wampa cave over there. But I just think the train building in this model is just beautiful. It's just so on point. Like the inside of the Echo base is just just very cool. I really enjoy that rock work, and I might have to steal some of it for my home builds. But here we have like a little barn and stuff, a very cool like kind of friends based barn. And then a ton of builds here with like the Iron Giant as well, and all of the um some of the like what is it called? Back to the Future. Some of the Back to the Future train and the DeLorean and stuff there, as well as a few other builds on that same table right there. Now we're coming to a bunch of Technic vehicle builds, which are very cool. I think my favorite of which might be that plane there in the back. But yeah, it's just some very cool builds, and even like a little tank and stuff there. But I like all these little Technic builds. I'm not a huge like Technic guy per se, but I do got to admit these are some cool builds. Coming up next here after the Technic section is like a little Crash Bandicoot, I believe, and then this very detailed kind of like fairy forest, I believe it was called, and it has like the giant bees and stuff. I mean, not bees, lightning bugs. It appears that I kind of zoom in here because I like the lighting of it. And yeah, it's just very well lit up. Good use of lighting and stuff here. And then there's of course some flowers and some other builds here. I couldn't get to all of these stuff simply because there's a lot of people there. This is a convention, so there's always going to be a ton of people here. But now I really like this little book nook. It's kind of cool. Just neat little like modular style building put in there. And then we have some like, I believe it's like a Gundam or something, and then some like other mechs and stuff set up here, looking very cool. And it would definitely be neat to have like a couple of those in the city. And speaking of cities, we have this very large medieval town here, even including some like farming stuff. And then the very beautiful town here, very like picturesque, I should say, with all of the different types, styles of like medieval buildings and stuff, even a little courtyard area, which is all walled off, and that goes into like a sort of river or small lake with a bunch of boats and stuff. And then there's this wizard's tower just on the other side of it, looking very, very cool. And then there's like even statues, a couple other little buildings. and a bunch of other just little scenes and stuff scattered throughout, making it look very, very cool. I love the just sheer size of this build with multiple different contributors into it, and then it even kind of blends into this pink castle right there that I don't really look at too much. You'll see me pan over here real quick back to see the train moving around. And then over into this little area, which has a very cool of the use of the table as like a prop to it, like to help get that waterfall and stuff in there looking very nice. And then there's some little like minifigure displays as well as a handful of other little projects around there, very nice. And there's of course this little Barbie sign, a little like pink version of the White House that might be from the Barbie movie, but I didn't really watch it to be honest. And there's like the Care Bears and stuff over there, and like I said earlier, I didn't get to uh, get close to like every single build because there's people there, and I was trying to film it as quickly as I can so I could go back and look at everything in more detail. But yeah, and there's also some other little things here with just other cool stuff like Princess Bride right there, which is a very nice movie. I have yet to read the book, of course, but I think most people probably know it from the movie. But yeah, there is a book. Go check it out. And then there's this little like Zen garden right there. And then of course Bilbo's birthday, which is very cool. I always love some Lord of the Rings builds, of which there's a handful throughout there, but this may or may not be my favorite because it's just really cool. It's pretty sizable and includes quite a few details with all the different characters and stuff. And as we go past these, you could have also seen a bunch of other builds, like Star Wars stuff, and this kind of reimagining of a Lego like Houses of the World set, I believe it was. And then some also little like little creatures and stuff. Very cool. As you can see, some of the stuff on the board there listed out. Next up, we have a massive Narnia build, which was very striking at first. Like as I was walking up to this table, I'm like, "Is that what I think it is?" His Narnia stuff is just very cool, and I even love some of the tree designs in the background. As you can see me zooming in here, taking note of them for the future because I will definitely be stealing a couple of those designs. Thank you, Mr. Designer. And then we go over to this little area, which I believe was a truck stop here. Looking very nice. So you can fuel up is a very large build and very cool. Definitely someone passionate about trucking or just trucks in general. And there's just a whole bunch of other little builds right here. And then next up, there's like this little ambush here, the Star Wars ambush, and then it goes into this massive, almost like compound. It was called I believe it was like a trading depot or a trading post. I think the sign is right there. It was a very striking build. It was just very cool. I love the structure with it and all of the figures included on the top there. And then there's this also like little section that's like a live movie production sort of thing with the theater being mostly clones because it says it's like clone free or something like that on the front there, but this is very cool. Very interesting take on some like theatrical stuff. And then you can see as I pan through some of these builds here that on the end there's this very cool build. I'm not exactly sure what to call it. Maybe like a outdoor eating area or something. It's right there on the thing. But yeah, so just a very cool build, making some interesting use of certain pieces and stuff to get the structure looking that way. And then a bunch of smaller builds here as well, including a little tuxedo cat with a bow tie there. And then this is a neat little building, I thought, which is just cool. I like some of the little building designs and stuff, and I kind of want to use them as inspiration for future things that I do. I thought the little baking hall thing was interesting. Now we have this massive winter village display with some like winterized versions of some sets, and then of course some completed versions of some winter village sets with a very nice like red brick road. sort of thing getting plowed off there, as you can see. And then, of course, the train. You gotta have the train going around, because when it's Christmas related, you definitely gotta have a train. I like the little reimagining of the downtown diner there on the side. Now, that was a very interesting build there at the end that kind of went past real quick. I came back to it. I don't know if I added it in the video itself, but it had a bunch of like planets and star sizes and stuff, like comparison or something like that. But it's a very cool build. And then, of course, you got to have the Last Supper build there, which is just very cool. Chef's kiss. Then go back this way a little bit and look at this a little bit more in depth, but it's just very cool, like comparing a whole bunch of different things. Thought it was a very, very interesting build that kind of makes you think for a second. Now, next up over here, we have a whole bunch of kind of like reimaginings of the Lego space, that one newer Lego space set, in different themes. As you can see, if you can pause the video and want to look at each of them more in depth, then you can. And then next up, we have this very, very cool farm area. I really like the way that they did the corn right there. They did the crops right there, and it's just very neat. And into this little city area with another reimagining of the botanical garden thing building right there from the Friends theme, which I may or may not have got a couple of them myself if you've seen some previous videos, that I'm planning on doing something, something inspired with there. And then this little train yard area with a whole bunch of different trains and train cars and stuff. Very cool. I love seeing all the different train cars and stuff. Definitely inspiring. Makes me want to build my own custom train based on some of them. And there's a little like haunted house and stuff with like just a bunch of cool shenanigans going on down there. Into another like train yard area with the trains and stuff just going around everywhere. It says Matrix Lug on there, so it's like a massive collaboration. But yeah, it's just so many train cars. It's super dope. Now, at one point, I don't know if it's going around right now, but they did have a little whatchamacallit, they had a little DeLorean and stuff going around on the tracks with the train stuff behind it. It derailed a couple times, but I don't know if it's going in this segment at this point during the convention, but I definitely came back a little bit later and it was. But I just love how realistic some of these trains look, and just how awesome the buildings and stuff look as part of like the background there. And they all have like there's just a really great attention to detail. And then the little gas station sign was hilarious. Charging an arm and a leg literally for gas there, which is a very, very funny little commentary on like, gas prices being what they are at that point. And yeah, it's just goofy, and I thought it was hilarious. So I had to make sure that I mentioned it in this video. Now we have some more very, very nice builds. It's definitely, I had to go through, like gloss over a majority of this really quickly for this video, unfortunately. But each of these builds individually deserves their own separate video, like just talking about them, talking about the design process and stuff. And yeah, it's just so cool. There's just so much there, but a lot of it gets glossed over in this video. So definitely go check out your local conventions next if there are any coming up and stuff. Just simply to talk to some of the builders and stuff. I talked with one or two. I didn't really talk with all of them, but it's definitely interesting to hear some of the design process on some of these builds, and like maybe why they built them, or if they have like a specific meaning behind some of them, because some of them can be kind of personal in some ways, but or some of them can just be fun. But yeah, there's just a lot of very, very cool, very well made builds and stuff like this one here. And some little like Thor stuff here, like the right here Thor Dark World, as you can tell, and then the previous build there, as well as this one, and a little like dollhouse. Not little, I say little, but it's like massive. This massive dollhouse there, and then there's this Hogwarts castle over here, which is very cool. Has like some of the flags and stuff out in the front there. And then I really liked how, as you come around this side, you can see on the inside of it, so it's kind of like cut in half almost, and you can see all the little stories and builds and stuff in the background there on the back side. Whereas if you want to look at the castle itself, you can go on the front side and you can just see the massiveness that is like their take on the castle. The other side, I think most of it is based off of the sets that are some of which are out right now, I believe. I don't really keep too much up with some of the Harry Potter stuff, but yeah, I think a lot of it's based off of like that stuff. And then there's the little framing and stuff, which is very cool on it. And there's of course these little builds and stuff here, just a whole bunch of little like mini builds, kind of like a little mini mock stuff. And now this massive area was built by that lug, which I just showed the little card for. And I'm sure we've seen some of the stuff previously in some of my other Brickworld videos if you want to go and check some of them out. Well, of course, there's like the little Nuketown area there, which is pretty fun. And then, of course, this build has multiple trains going around it, just because why the heck not? Like some of these like massive train displays going on, which are crazy. And I, of course, had to zoom in on the different colored little houses there from the bookshop, simply because I kind of want to make them. And then there's just these massive buildings that I'm sure would take months, has taken months to build. So some of which we have seen in at some of the previous conventions, but I'm glad that they keep bringing them back because they're so cool. They're just so cool to look at every single time we see them. But yeah, then it just kind of bleeds into this little area here, of course, with a couple more trains and a couple more of those houses from the Birch's Books shop there, and then it just goes into a beach, because why not? That's just awesome. Then of course you gotta have the lighthouse set, which I have yet to build, and then I just love this beach just so much, just so many figures. Beaches are fun because you can just have a ton of figures, just a ton, because why not? Beaches are fun and popular. Then of course you gotta display all the boats, and we actually talked with this builder of this little beach areas because the water was just very interesting, and he basically just said that he hadn't really seen it before and thought it was cool, and so he included like actual water in there and had some boats and stuff floating around it, which is just very cool. It was very cool overall. And then this build here, as you can see, I may or may not have included in a couple shorts to promote this long video, just because it's just so cool. It's just so striking. And I love how some of the like Grand Rapids stuff, like that's the old Grand Rapids City Hall and stuff. I love the inclusion of some local buildings and stuff, because obviously this is Brickworld Grand Rapids. So I just love the passion that some of these people have for like cool buildings and stuff in Michigan, and just like local stuff. That's always nice to see at some of these conventions. And of course, I gotta zoom in on the trees and the little cross there and stuff, because I may or may not try and build some of that stuff in the future for our Lego city here. And then, of course, some more very nice buildings, as well as more trains, because the trains are just, the train layout here and stuff is just so cool with all the ballast train tracks and stuff. And then this building is very striking. It's kind of hard to find words for some of this stuff specifically, just because it's so cool. And then you have like this little housing area in between the massive buildings and stuff. Then, of course, speaking of massive buildings, we're going to some more buildings here, which a lot of them are kind of like specific buildings and stuff from certain places, which is just always nice to see people uh, building, working on specific buildings. Excuse me, just because of just cool. Like this one here, it's just massive. It would take forever to build, but I guess that's kind of what Brickworld is about. Just showcasing all the cool stuff that you spent forever building. And yeah, it's just very cool. Very cool. And then going on to some other stuff around the side here, even more buildings and stuff. Just I just love the detailing and stuff on these buildings, like the public library here. It's just such a cool building to just have somewhere and just be able to go look at for like a couple days every year. It's just so cool. And then you have all these like very cool, like just very cool, very different houses and buildings and stuff along here. I love how they kind of contrast with each other and stuff. And then of course you have this guy here on the end, which is another very cool building. I don't remember the exact name of it, or if that one specifically had a name. Then we go over to this area, which is it's just a massive Jurassic Park display here with some like military stuff there on the corner. And that goes into like a little airstrip here, and then more into some more Jurassic Worldy stuff or Jurassic Parky stuff. And I love how they have the little tram and stuff just going around there. As you can see how it's kind of like cut in half there. And then just like some of the more like public parts of like say like a real world Jurassic Park area. And of course you have like the whole fenced in area with all the dinosaurs behind it, which we'll get to check out here in a second as we go around. And I love how there's like the little derailed cars and stuff, a whole bunch of them. And then of course you have the massive Jurassic Park sign, and then into the park itself, which just has like all of the dinosaurs like everywhere. There's just so many of like every type you could imagine here. It's just awesome. Like, look how many dinosaurs there are. And then there's a whole bunch of different trees and stuff, which the designs I might steal. I always try and focus on tree designs. But as you can see, there's some dinos there terrorizing the tower here, which is just crazy that was freestanding, because it is just so tall. I would have thought it would have fallen over for sure, because it doesn't look very stable. But it's crazy how some of the stuff like that just stands. And a whole bunch more dinosaurs. Probably the highlight of this build is just the massive amount of dinosaurs and that little fire watchtower, whatever you want to call it, because that was a very cool build that may or may not try and include somewhere. But yeah, just a bunch more cool trees. I love the little river that kind of cuts the build in half almost. It just gives a little bit more depth and detail and stuff to the build in its entirety, just like that little mud spa or whatever, and then the like paths and stuff, and the little jeeps and stuff there at the end. Just a very very cool build that took up a like pretty sizable area. It's just very cool to look at. And of course you got somebody building the one of the best sets of all time there, and some very cool builds right there that I couldn't get to because there's people there. I would have liked to maybe look at them a little bit deeper for this video, but yeah. And then there's this massive display of like some just a bunch of Harry Potter stuff, even with Diagon Alley there, looking very cool. And then it kind of goes into like some of the more recognizable stuff, even with Hogwarts Castle and stuff, and a bunch of little scenes and stuff kind of built around like the maze and stuff. And then there's this little like elves section that kind of branches off from the Harry Potter stuff right there, which bleeds into like a Minecraft area next, of course, here. And then of course you have like the little stuff right there of them like just crossing between the different worlds, which is kind of fun to see and always fun to kind of play with. the interconnectedness of the build. But then onto, of course, the Minecraft area a bit more. There's just this big like chunk that just showcases like different levels and stuff. One having like the Nether, one having like the depths and stuff. And this builder I actually talked to a little bit. He makes use of like 4 of the different of those Black Knight. That one there on the end, 4 of those castles to make that build, and has some of the stuff. I forget the designer's name. I think he has some stuff up for sale and stuff like to get the instructions, which are just very cool. I kind of talked with him a little bit at the show and stuff there. He has some very nice designs and stuff. And there's just this really like cool, I think it's like cyberpunk city or whatever, which is very, very pleasing to look at and just had a lot of cool details, as well as this little like classic space area, and then onto just a whole bunch of different like ships and stuff. Just there's just so much to look at and just so cool. Like the massive fighter right there, and then some little Star Wars stuff over here, looking very snazzy, very, very cool. And there's some like kind of military stuff over here with a bunch of different tanks and like trucks and stuff, and even like a PT boat right there, as you can kind of see at the top there. Very nice. I really like the PT boat. It's very cool. And then of course a little helicopter right there, even with a little scene and stuff around it, and some more military vehicles and stuff, and little displays with some very cool stuff there. As you can see, there's a haunted house build right here that can even split in half and show some of the details and stories on the inside. And this just massive truck right here for like hauling stuff, looking very cool. And then a couple other little builds placed in front and around it. Just great overall. Just some cool Bob Ross stuff. And then a very cool military memorial display, as you'll see. You can pan through it and just see all the stuff taken, all of the sections and stuff in it. It's a very cool display, and I thought that was very nice. It makes some nice use of lighting and stuff. And I really like using seeing Lego being used as kind of like a memorial sort of thing, having like, something behind it other than just cool thing to look at. And then moving on, we have a whole bunch of very cool stuff over here. Is like A to Z builds and stuff, the Alphabet Castle, and you can go around and there's little like letters and stuff scattered around on the castle build, which is just massive here, including some of the little builds over there. But this massive castle has like a bunch of little letters and stuff scattered around that you can stop and look at just to try and figure out what each thing is and just try to find all the letters. I hope that they're all included in here. If I missed one or two, my bad, but definitely try and find all of the letters if you can. Now, unfortunately, when I got to it for the video, the Great Ball contraption was not running, but I'll do a quick little walk around here real quick because they're taking a break. But of course, you gotta have the massive like bridges so that people can get in and out. And then there's just all of the different modules and stuff, because what is Brickworld without a Great Ball contraption in there somewhere? You gotta have it. It's just a Brickworld staple, of course. And there's just so much cool stuff. There's so many cool modules and stuff, and different like very creative ways to move balls from one side of the contraption to the other side in a big circle. But yeah, then there's this little like panel there. You can kind of see the letters there if you want to decode it. I forget what it says. I think I translated it at one point, but I forgot, if I'm completely honest. Then there's this massive kind of like sort of train display, sort of city build, as you'll see here in a second. But yeah, just kind of has like starts with big train area and stuff, because you gotta love trains. Who doesn't love trains? And I really like that little train transporter boat, or whatever you'd want to call it, maybe like a ferry or something at the end there, because they had it on a little like thing with roller wheels that you could move around and stuff if they wanted. So that was very cool. And then there's just this whole bunch of very nice buildings here, some of them being modular, a lot of them being custom. And then, of course, there's a military base kind of right on the end of that area. And then, as you can see, the train line, of course, continues on from there, connecting to the military base so that they can transport like all the tanks and the all the trucks and vehicles and stuff that you could ever need from military stuff. And of course, speaking of the trains, here comes a couple right now, rounding that corner there and into a more kind of like rural almost area with the farm and stuff here, looking very snazzy. Then of course another little like train area for, I believe, gathering something or other, like loading stuff onto the trains, so they could like kind of stop there, load a bunch of stuff on there, and then take it where it needs to go. And of course a bunch more train cars and stuff. Here in a little train station that I believe would be for passengers and stuff. As you can see, the train kind of moving along there. And then of course more train track. I love the ballast train track and stuff. Here's their kind of lug thing if you want to try and scan that for yourself there. And then moving on to this area, which kind of leads into the big city there at the end, which is kind of like just maybe one of the most striking builds in Brickworld. As you can walk in, you can see it from the other side of the convention hall. It's crazy, but yeah, just very cool. I love the like kind of graffiti on some of the buildings and stuff included there, kind of giving it like a realistic flair. And then it kind of moves into this just massive city area, and it's just very cool. You can just see all of the very, very cool, like just massive buildings laid out everywhere. It's just crazy to think about how long some of this stuff would take. And with that kind of all looked at, that was the end to my Brickworld adventure. Just adding this clip here at the end here because it's a very fun time. Just kind of wanted to give a little conversation here at the end. But yeah, thanks for watching through the full video. I know it was rather long, maybe not as long as the haul video from all the stuff we got at Brickworld, which, yeah, that was a long one. You can go check that out. That was a couple weeks ago. But yeah, thanks for sticking around, and hope you guys have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Bye!